Okay, so here you are. You have decided that you're finally going to write this book. This book that comes out of your expertise, your life, something you've experienced. And now we're in the place where you are going to start to ask yourself, how can I best plan and structure this book so it makes sense to a reader? And the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that you are writing for a reader. And that is the calling of a writer. You're not writing a diary or a journal. You're not jotting your notes down on a whiteboard to wipe them off. You are sitting down and deciding you're going to craft a structured, long form piece of writing that puts together an area of your expertise or life. And you're doing this because you want somebody else to read it. And that's the starting point of writing. And that's one of the reasons we gave you a list of genres. And genre really is what I like to call the G spot of publishing. And the G spot is that word that publishers are really, really obsessed with at the moment. And it is the beginning of all decisions. So as a reader, you buy books by genre. You know what you like. You like to buy a crime or a romance, or you love your business advice books, or you love an inspirational book, or you love a cookbook. You know what you like. You very seldom buy out of genre. And the reason is we kind of live busy lives. And when we buy a book, we sort of want to know that it's going to deliver what we expect in it, and we're going to get some value added to our life. Now, let's step into the shoes of a writer. A writer needs to understand that when they write a book, they have to write a book with a particular genre in mind. And the reader is going to buy that book looking for that information. So you're going to go through your list and you're going to select your genre. You're going to select one, and that one genre is the book, is the place that we are going to stock your book at a bookshop. So if in a bookshop you only had one shelf, one place your book was going to be stocked, what would that be? But go through the list and identify at least a few more genres, because when you sell your book digitally and load it on Amazon, you have to load it in 3. So what are the 3 different places your book may be sold at, which sales points? And start thinking like that. And the reason we speak genre is it's to really start to get you to think about what am I saying in this book? What am I arguing? Because all nonfiction books are actually arguments. The calling of writing nonfiction is you standing on a soapbox and you're kind of saying, I've learned some stuff, I've done some stuff, and I want to share it with you. So the way we like to share this information in a nonfiction is in a very cleverly structured book. And really what makes the difference between good books and bad books, which I really don't believe in, is not the brilliance of the information. It's not the great stuff you're putting down in the book. Very often it is in the way you choose to present it to the reader. Is it logical? Does it make sense? Do you break the information down in a way that they can just understand and walk through? So you're going to start now in this planning process of your book, of doing a few things. Your very first choice is what genre? Where is it going to be stocked? And genre will determine what goes in your book. If you buy a cookbook and there aren't recipes, you're going to be angry. Likewise, if you buy a diet book or a health fitness book and there isn't an eating plan or a training plan, you're also going to be disappointed. So you're going to start to unpack the kind of things that go in the kind of book you're writing and start to make a list. What does your book need in it? Does it need an eating plan? Does it need personal anecdotes or stories? Does it need some intellectual arguments? And what are the other elements that are needed in this book? So, as an overview, as a nonfiction writer, you plan your book in chapters. And chapters really are those ways you group the information in a logical way. So, my advice is to take what you just think you're tackling. Is it how to do your own taxes? Is it how to sell your own property? Is it, how you lost 27 kilos on a beetroot fast? Decide what it's about and go, how could I logically unpack this book in a chapter format that makes sense to the reader. Bear in mind, most books have around about 12 chapters, but that's an arbitrary chapter list because they're books that have 21 chapters. There's books that have 68 very short chapters. And really, you just have to think, how can I break it down? So when thinking, how can I break my book down? You need to start asking yourself some questions. And the one question you want to ask, and this will determine your structure, is, am I an expert in my field? Is the information I'm writing about something I am an expert in? And I want to explain why I ask that, because apart from your genre list, the different kind of books out there in the nonfiction terrain, and the one book is a professional to professional book. So if you are writing a book about life coaching for other life coaches, for example, it's a business book. The other kind of book you may be writing is a layman's book. So that is an expert to the general public. So it's about life coaching, but you're not telling other life coaches how to life coach. You're telling the man in the street how to reframe his business thinking, whatever it may be. So that's one thing you have to think about. Are you an expert? And are you writing for other experts, or are you writing for the general public? And when you ask yourself, are you an expert? There are different kinds of experts. And the first kind of expert you may be is a professional expert, which means you've studied and you know about it. You have studied medicine and you're writing a book about brain disease. You are a professional chef and you're talking about low carb cooking. You are a lifestyle coach and you are discussing your clients' success stories. The second kind of expert you may be is an expert through learned experience. So that would apply to many areas of life where you've just lived it. So let's say, for example, you've had an eating disorder. You are not necessarily a professional expert. You haven't studied it, but you've lived it for 25 years. Or you are a bad parent and you haven't studied to be a bad parent. You've just been one for quite a long time because maybe you've got 5 children. Or you've raised a child who's an addict and you have a lot to say and a lot to share. Or you're a great amateur gardener and you want to share with others how to build an indigenous garden. You don't have to be a professional gardener. So you could be that kind of expert where you've actually just earned your stripes by living it. And the third kind of expert you can be to write a non-fiction book is a research expert, which may mean that you haven't done any of these things, but you've got an idea about them and you're going to go out and see if this is provable. So, for example, Michael Gladwell in The Tipping Point is a research expert. He comes up with a theory, and the theory is that little things have big consequences. And what does he do in that book? He goes and interviews people and questions them and proves or disproves his theory. So you have to decide, what kind of expert are you in the writing of this book? So to recap, you've got a few things to think about. Firstly, where is this book going on the bookshelf? What genre is it? What is driving this book forward? What is the main theme, the main content of this book? Number 2, you're going to start thinking about, how am I going to break down the information into chapters which are just logical content buckets in which you are going to drop your information. The next thing you're going to be thinking about is, how am I positioning this book? What am I an expert at, and am I an expert, and to whom am I speaking? Am I speaking to other professionals? Am I speaking to the layman? And if so, how does that change the way I present the information in the book? So lots to think about. You're in the planning phases. A lot more information is going to come your way. Just a little bit of a reminder as to why we love structure so much. And we love structure because a book is a long form piece of writing. It's not an essay. It's not a little article. It's not a blog post. It's a long form piece of writing. And you are looking in your nonfiction to be coming out with around about 50,000 words. So to get to the place where you have broken your argument down and clearly laid it out, you within that large span of writing, you have to have structure. You can't build a bridge without a diagram. You really can't. And I like to think of this structural stuff as really the building blocks of your book, because when you know what each segment is, what's in each chapter, how each chapter may possibly be broken down, you can start to be creative. So your job this week is to focus on that, is to come up with a potential chapter list or table of contents, and to think about what needs to be in this book to satisfy the reader who likes to buy these kind of books. Happy writing.